Sophia Chen had always believed in fairy tales. At 24, with her simple brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and her drugstore makeup barely hiding the dark circles under her eyes, she was nobody special. She worked as a junior accountant at Morrison & Associates, lived in a tiny apartment with a leaking ceiling, and ate instant noodles 4 nights a week. Her life was ordinary, predictable, and safe. Until Damien Cross walked into her office building one rainy October evening. He was everything she wasn't. Tall, commanding, with sharp features that looked like they'd been carved from marble. His tailored suit probably cost more than her yearly rent. Damien Cross was the 32-year-old CEO of Cross Industries, a billion-dollar empire spanning tech, real estate, and luxury goods. He was Manhattan royalty, and he was looking directly at her. "You dropped this," he said, holding out her worn leather notebook. She'd lost it somewhere between the coffee shop and the lobby. Sophia's hands trembled as she took it. "Thank you. Thank you." His dark eyes studied her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You work here. Junior accountant. 3rd floor." Why was she telling him this? A smile tugged at his lips. "I'm Damien. I know who you are, Mr. Cross. Everyone does." "Just Damien," he corrected. "And you are?" "Sophia. Sophia Chun." That was the beginning. What followed was 3 months of stolen moments, secret coffee dates, and whispered phone calls at midnight. Damien pursued her with the intensity that was both thrilling and terrifying. He showed up at her apartment with takeout from restaurants she couldn't pronounce. He sent her books he thought she'd love. He listened when she talked about her dreams of starting her own consulting firm someday. "Why me?" she asked him one night, curled up on her threadbare couch. "You could have anyone." Damien pulled her closer. "Because you see me. Not my money, not my name. Just me." The secret wedding. They married in December at a small courthouse in Connecticut. No guests, no family, just 2 witnesses pulled from the street. Sophia wore a simple cream dress from a department store. Damien wore jeans and a sweater. They exchanged plain gold bands and promises to love each other forever. "We'll tell my family when the time is right," Damien assured her as they drove back to the city. "They'll come around. They just need time." But Sophia had already met his family. She'd seen the way his mother, Catherine Cross, looked at her like she was dirt on an expensive carpet. She'd heard his younger sister Miranda's cutting remarks about gold diggers and social climbers. And worst of all, she'd watched his childhood friend Victoria Sterling touch his arm with casual ownership, her perfect blonde hair and designer clothes a sharp contrast to Sophia's bargain store wardrobe. Damien's going through a phase, Catherine had told Sophia directly at a charity gala. He'll realize soon enough that some people are meant to stay in their lane. Sophia should have listened to the warning bells. But she was in love, and love made people stupid. The shadow of Victoria. Victoria Sterling wasn't just Damien's childhood friend. She was his family's chosen one, the daughter of another wealthy dynasty, perfectly groomed to be the next Mrs. Cross. She was beautiful, educated, sophisticated. Everything Sophia wasn't. "Victoria and I are just friends," Damien insisted whenever Sophia brought her up. "There's nothing between us." There never was. But Sophia saw the way Victoria looked at Damien. She saw the intimate smiles, the inside jokes, the way Victoria's hand would linger on his shoulder just a moment too long. And she saw the way Damien's family treated Victoria like she already belonged. 3 months into their secret marriage, things began to change. Damien started working later. He missed dinners. His phone calls grew shorter and more distracted. When Sophia suggested they finally tell his family about their marriage, he'd say, "Soon, sweetheart. Just not yet." "Are you ashamed of me?" she asked one night. "Never," he said, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. The night, everything shattered. It happened on a cold February evening. Sophia had finally worked up the courage to surprise Damien at his penthouse. She had news, wonderful news that she was bursting to share. She'd taken a pregnancy test that morning. 3 of them, actually. All positive. She was going to be a mother. They were going to be parents. She clutched the tiny ultrasound photo in her purse as she rode the private elevator to his penthouse. Her hands shook with excitement and nerves. This would change everything. Once his family knew about the baby, they'd have to accept her. They'd have to accept their marriage. The elevator doors opened directly into his living room. She stepped out, calling his name. "Damien? I have something to." She froze. Damien was there, standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows. But he wasn't alone. Victoria Sterling was wrapped in his arms, her face buried against his chest, her shoulders shaking with sobs. And Damien was stroking her hair with a tenderness that made Sophia's heart crack. "I can't lose you, Damien," Victoria was saying. "Please don't leave me. I need you." "Shoo. I'm here," Damien murmured. "I'm not going anywhere." Sophia must have made a sound because they both turned. Victoria's tears vanished instantly, replaced by a cold smile. Damien's face went pale. "Sophia," he said, "this isn't what it looks like." Sophia finished, her voice surprisingly steady. "Then what is it, Damien?" Victoria stepped forward, her red-rimmed eyes suddenly sharp and calculating. "Damien and I were just discussing some personal matters. Family matters." "Family matters," Sophia repeated. She looked at her husband. "Is that what we're calling it?" "Victoria's parents are getting divorced," Damien said quickly. "She's upset. I was just comforting her." It might have been true, but the way he'd pulled away from Victoria, the guilt written across his face, the fact that he still hadn't told anyone about their marriage, it all added up to a truth Sophia didn't want to see. "I'm your wife," Sophia said quietly. "I should be the one you." "Wife?" Victoria's voice was sharp with shock and something that sounded like fury. Damien's silence was deafening. "You didn't tell her," Sophia whispered. "You didn't tell anyone." "The accident." Sophia left. She ran from that penthouse, tears blinding her, her heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. She heard Damien calling after her, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. She made it to the elevator, then to the lobby, then out into the freezing February night. The streets were slick with ice. She wasn't wearing a proper coat. She didn't care. She just walked, her mind spinning. She'd been so stupid, so naive. Of course someone like Damien Cross wouldn't really choose someone like her. Of course it had all been too good to be true. She didn't see the car until it was too late. The impact came from the left. A black sedan, going too fast on the icy road. Sophia felt herself flying, the world spinning. Then came the crash as she hit the pavement. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. Her head, her ribs, her arm bent at a wrong angle. She lay there on the frozen street, tasting blood, unable to move. Through her blurred vision, she saw a crowd gathering. Someone was calling 911. Someone else was holding her hand, telling her to stay awake. Then she saw him, Damien, running toward her, his face twisted with horror. "Sophia." He fell to his knees beside her. "Oh God, Sophia, hold on. The ambulance is coming. Just hold on." His hands were on her face, in her hair. She tried to speak, to tell him about the baby, but blood filled her mouth. That's when his phone rang. Even through her fading consciousness, Sophia heard Victoria's voice on the other end, high and panicked. "Damien, where are you? I need you. My father just, please, I need you right now. I can't do this alone." Sophia watched Damien's face, watched the conflict there, and she knew. She knew before he even moved. "The ambulance is almost here," Damien said to Sophia, his voice breaking. "They'll take care of you. I have to. Victoria needs." He stood up. He actually stood up and walked away. Sophia lay there on the frozen street, bleeding and broken, watching the man she loved choose someone else. Again, the last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was Damien's back as he disappeared into a waiting car. The awakening. Sophia woke up 3 days later in a hospital bed. Her head was wrapped in bandages. Her arm was in a cast. Every breath sent sharp pains through her bruised ribs. A tired-looking nurse told her she'd been lucky. The internal bleeding had stopped. The concussion was serious, but not life-threatening. She'd survived. "Is my baby okay?" Sophia's first words were a desperate whisper. The nurse's face softened with sympathy. "Your baby is fine. Strong heartbeat. You're about 8 weeks along." Sophia closed her eyes and felt tears leak down her cheeks. Her baby was safe. That was all that mattered. No one from the Cross family came to visit. Not Damien's mother, not his sister, not even Damien himself. Only her co-worker Lisa stopped by, bringing flowers and concern. "Where's your husband?" Lisa asked, confused. "Shouldn't he be here?" Sophia didn't answer. On her second day awake, a lawyer came. A sharp-eyed woman in an expensive suit, carrying papers that Sophia recognized immediately. "Divorce papers. Mr. Cross has asked me to handle this matter discreetly," the lawyer said. her voice professionally neutral. He's prepared to offer you a settlement of $500,000 in exchange for your signature and your silence. Sophia looked at the papers, at the place where Damien had already signed his name. He hadn't even had the courage to face her himself. There's one more condition, the lawyer continued. Mr. Cross requests that you leave New York immediately and sever all contact with his family. Of course, he wanted her gone, erased, as if their marriage, their love, had never existed. Sophia thought about fighting. She thought about telling them all about the baby, about demanding her place as Damien's wife. But then she looked at those papers, at that signature, and she realized something. She didn't want to be where she wasn't wanted. She didn't want to force someone to love her. And she didn't want her child growing up in the shadow of the Cross family's contempt. I'll sign, Sophia said quietly. But I want $2 million. And I want it in a trust that no one can touch or trace. The lawyer blinked, surprised. Then she nodded. I'll convey your terms to Mr. Cross. 3 days later, the money was in an offshore account under a false name. Sophia signed the papers. And then she disappeared. 5 years later, Los Angeles, city of angels and new beginnings. Sophia Chun, now going by Sophia Loren, having taken her grandmother's maiden name, stood in her sleek downtown office, looking out at the sprawling city below. She barely recognized the woman she'd been 5 years ago. Her hair, once mousy brown, was now highlighted with golden streaks and cut in a sophisticated shoulder-length style. She'd learned to dress in tailored suits that commanded respect. She'd gotten laser eye surgery, traded her glasses for confidence. She'd transformed herself from the inside out. More importantly, she'd built something real. Loren Financial Consulting was now one of the top firms on the West Coast. Sophia had used her skills, her intelligence, and Damien's unwitting seed money to create an empire of her own. She advised CEOs, restructured corporations, and had a reputation for seeing financial problems no one else could spot. She was successful. She was independent. She was free. Mommy. Sophia turned as her office door burst open. A tiny whirlwind with dark curls and bright eyes ran toward her. Emma. Sophia scooped up her 4-year-old daughter, spinning her around. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be with Aunt Lisa. Lisa appeared in the doorway, looking apologetic. She insisted on seeing you. Said she had important news. Emma's small hands cupped Sophia's face. Mommy, I drawed you a picture. She held up a crayon drawing of 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, holding hands under a sunshine. Sophia felt her heart squeeze. It's beautiful, baby. Emma had Sophia's smile, but her father's dark eyes and strong features. Every time Sophia looked at her daughter, she saw Damien. But she also saw herself, her strength, her resilience, her ability to survive. She'd never told Damien about Emma. As far as he knew, Sophia Chun had taken his money and vanished. He didn't know about the daughter who'd inherited his sharp mind and his stubborn determination. And Sophia had planned to keep it that way forever. Until that afternoon, when her assistant knocked on her door with a worried expression. Ms. Loren, I have a Mr. Zhang on the line. He says it's urgent. Something about Cross Industries wanting to hire us for their upcoming merger. Sophia's blood ran cold. Cross Industries, Damien's company. After 5 years of carefully avoiding anything connected to the Cross name, they'd found her. Or rather, her reputation had found them. Tell him I'm not interested, Sophia said. But then Emma looked up at her with those dark eyes, Damien's eyes, and Sophia felt something shift inside her. She'd spent 5 years running. 5 years. Hiding. 5 years letting Damien believe he'd won. Maybe it was time to stop running. Maybe it was time for Damien Cross to face what he'd thrown away. Actually, Sophia said, her voice steady and cold. Tell Mr. Zhang I'll take the meeting. But only if Mr. Cross himself is present. Lisa looked at her with concern. Soph, are you sure? You said you'd never. I'm sure, Sophia interrupted. She set Emma down and straightened her suit jacket. It's time. Time for Damien Cross to meet the woman he'd abandoned. Time for him to see what she'd become. And time, eventually, for him to learn the truth about the daughter he never knew existed. The game was about to begin. And this time, Sophia Loren was playing to win. The Cross Industries building in Manhattan looked exactly as Sophia remembered, a gleaming tower of steel and glass that pierced the sky like a spear. She'd avoided this place for 5 years. Now she was walking through its front doors like she owned it. And in a way, she did. At least for the next 3 months. Ms. Laurent, welcome. A young executive named James Jean greeted her in the marble lobby. Mr. Cross is waiting for you in the executive conference room. Top floor. Sophia nodded, her heels clicking against the polished floor with confident precision. She wore a charcoal gray power suit that had cost more than she used to make in a month. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek bun. Diamond studs, bought with her own money, glinted in her ears. She looked like money. She looked like power. She looked like someone who could never be dismissed or abandoned. She looked nothing like the broken girl who'd bled on a frozen street 5 years ago. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like ascending to battle. Sophia checked her reflection in the polished doors. Her makeup was flawless. Her expression was cool and professional. No one would see the way her heart was hammering against her ribs. The doors opened. The executive conference room was massive, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of Manhattan. A long table dominated the space, surrounded by leather chairs. And at the head of that table sat Damien Cross. 5 years had changed him. There were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. His jaw was harder, his shoulders broader. He wore his power like armor now, every inch the ruthless CEO the business magazines wrote about. He looked up as she entered, and Sophia watched, with cold satisfaction, as his eyes widened with confusion. He was looking at her, really looking, but there was no recognition, no spark of memory. He had no idea who she was. Ms. Laurent. Damien stood, extending his hand. His voice was deep and professional. Thank you for coming. Your reputation precedes you. Sophia took his hand. His grip was firm and warm. Once, that touch had made her feel safe. Now it just made her feel powerful. Mr. Cross, she said smoothly, I understand you need help with a merger. Please sit. He gestured to a chair across from him. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? I'm fine, thank you. As they sat, Sophia noticed the other people in the room. James Jean, a woman who introduced herself as the CFO. And, sitting to Damien's right like a queen beside her king, was Victoria Sterling. Of course she was there. Victoria had aged well. She was still beautiful, still perfectly put together in a cream Chanel suit. But there was something brittle about her now, something fragile beneath the polished surface. Her smile was tight. Her eyes were cold. And when she looked at Damien, there was possession in her gaze. But not love. Sophia recognized that look. It was the same way Victoria used to look at an expensive handbag, something to own, to display, to keep others from having. Ms. Laurent, this is my wife, Victoria Cross, Damien said. Wife. So he'd married her after all. Sophia smiled pleasantly. A pleasure. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly as she studied Sophia. Have we met before? You seem familiar. I don't believe so, Sophia said coolly. I've been based in Los Angeles for the past several years. This is my first time back in New York. It wasn't technically a lie. The proposal. For the next hour, they discussed business. Cross Industries was planning to merge with a tech company called Novatech. It was a massive deal, worth billions. But there were complications, tax issues, regulatory hurdles, conflicting corporate cultures. Sophia listened, her mind already working through the problems. This was what she was good at. This was where she shined. The merger will fail, she said bluntly when they finished presenting. Not because of the tax issues or the regulations. Those are solvable. It will fail because you're trying to merge two companies with completely different values and you're not addressing the human cost. Damien leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. Explain. Novatech was built by engineers who care about innovation. Cross Industries is run by executives who care about profit. You're planning to cut Novatech's R&D budget by 40%. Their best people will leave within 6 months. The merger will be a shell. You'll have bought a name and some patents, but you'll have lost everything that made Novatech valuable. There was silence around the table. That's a bold assessment, Victoria said, her voice dripping with condescension. And you're basing this on what exactly? A 1-hour meeting. Sophia turned to her with a calm smile. I'm basing it on 20 similar mergers I've analyzed in the past 3 years. 16 of them failed for exactly this reason. The 4 that succeeded were the ones that prioritized people over paperwork. Damien was watching her with a new intensity. What would you recommend? A complete restructuring of the integration plan. Keep Novatech's leadership intact. Increase the R&D budget, not decrease it. Make the merger about collaboration, not acquisition. It will cost you more upfront, but you'll keep the talent. And talent is what you're actually buying. She pulled out a folder. She'd done her homework on the plane and slid it across the table. Here's a preliminary analysis. If you want my firm to handle this merger, these are my terms. Damien opened the folder. His eyebrows rose slightly. These fees are industry standard for a project of this scope, Sophia finished. My firm doesn't come cheap, Mr. Cross. But we also don't fail. Ever. The merger will fail, she said bluntly when they finished presenting. Not because of the tax issues or the regulations. Those are solvable. It will fail because you're trying to merge two companies with completely different values and you're not addressing the human cost. Damien leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. Explain. Novatech was built by engineers who care about innovation. Cross Industries is run by executives who care about profit. You're planning to cut Novatech's R&D budget by 40%. Their best people will leave within 6 months. The merger will be a shell. You'll have bought a name and some patents, but you'll have lost everything that made Novatech valuable. There was silence around the table. That's a bold assessment, Victoria said, her voice dripping with condescension. And you're basing this on what exactly? A 1-hour meeting. Sophia turned to her with a calm smile. I'm basing it on 20 similar mergers I've analyzed in the past 3 years. 16 of them failed for exactly this reason. The 4 that succeeded were the ones that prioritized people over paperwork. Damien was watching her with a new intensity. What would you recommend? A complete restructuring of the integration plan. Keep Novatech's leadership intact. Increase the R&D budget, not decrease it. Make the merger about collaboration, not acquisition. It will cost you more upfront, but you'll keep the talent. And talent is what you're actually buying. She pulled out a folder. She'd done her homework on the plane and slid it across the table. Here's a preliminary analysis. If you want my firm to handle this merger, these are my terms. Damien opened the folder. His eyebrows rose slightly. These fees are industry standard for a project of this scope, Sophia finished. My firm doesn't come cheap, Mr. Cross. But we also don't fail. Ever. This was about more than revenge. It was about proving to herself that she'd truly survived. That she'd become more than the girl Damien had left bleeding on the street. On her 3rd day, Damien appeared in her office doorway. Ms. Laurent, do you have a moment? Sophia looked up from her laptop. Of course. Come in. He entered, closing the door behind him. He looked tired, she noticed. There were shadows under his eyes. I wanted to thank you, he said. I've been reviewing your preliminary work. It's excellent. That's what you're paying me for. Still, he sat in the chair across from her desk. I have to admit, when James suggested hiring an outside consultant, I was skeptical. I thought it was a waste of money. But you've already identified issues my own team missed. Sophia allowed herself a small smile. Your team is focused on making you happy. I'm focused on making the merger work. There's a difference. Damien studied her for a long moment. You're very direct. I appreciate that. Most people in this business spend half their time telling me what they think I want to hear. I don't have time for games, Mr. Cross. I say what needs to be said. Please, call me Damien. I prefer to keep things professional. He nodded, accepting the boundary. But there was something in his eyes, curiosity, maybe, or recognition trying to surface. Can I ask you something personal? He said suddenly. Sophia tensed. That depends on the question. Do you have family? Someone waiting for you back in Los Angeles. It was a strange question. Too personal for a business relationship. Sophia considered how to answer. I have a daughter, she said finally. She's 4. She's staying with a friend while I'm here. Something flickered across Damien's face. No husband. No. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked. It's none of my business. No, Sophia agreed. It's not. But she saw the way he looked at her after that, with a new layer of interest that had nothing to do with business. And she knew, with cold certainty, that her plan was working. The cracks in the perfect marriage. Over the next few weeks, Sophia established herself at Cross Industries. She interviewed department heads, reviewed financial projections, attended board meetings. She was professional, brilliant, and utterly untouchable. And she watched. She watched the way Damien and Victoria interacted. The distance between them. The lack of warmth. They never touched unless cameras were present. They never looked at each other with anything resembling affection. Their marriage was a business arrangement, a merger of families and fortunes, nothing more. She watched Victoria, too. Watched the way her perfectly manicured hands trembled slightly when she held her coffee cup. The way her eyes darted to Damien constantly, checking his reactions. The way she snapped at junior employees for minor mistakes. Victoria Cross was not a happy woman. She was terrified. Sophia learned why one evening when she was working late. Most of the office had gone home. She was deep in financial spreadsheets when she heard raised voices from down the hall. Damien's office. She shouldn't have listened. It was none of her business. But she found herself moving closer to the partially open door. "You're being ridiculous," Victoria was saying, her voice sharp with frustration. "She's just a consultant." "I didn't say anything about Ms. Laurent," Damien replied coldly. "You don't have to say anything. I see the way you look at her, the way you find excuses to talk to her. She's working on the most important merger this company has ever attempted. Of course I talk to her. It's more than that. You're attracted to her." There was a long silence. Then Damien said quietly, "What does it matter if I am? Our marriage isn't exactly a love story, Victoria." "We had an agreement," Victoria hissed. "Yes, an agreement. That's all this has ever been. Your mother will never allow a divorce. Neither will my father. We're in this together, Damien, whether you like it or not." Sophia heard footsteps and quickly retreated to her office. But she'd heard enough. Damien was trapped in a loveless marriage. And he was starting to notice her, really notice her. Good. Let him notice. Let him feel the pull of attraction. Let him want something he couldn't have. It was a small taste of what he'd done to her 5 years ago. The almost moment. The breakthrough came in week 6 of the project. Sophia had been working 18-hour days, restructuring the entire merger agreement. She'd barely slept, barely eaten. But she'd done it. She'd found a way to make the merger work while protecting both companies' interests. She was printing the final proposal at midnight when Damien appeared in her office doorway. "You're still here," he said. "So are you." He looked exhausted. His tie was loosened, his sleeves rolled up. He carried 2 cups of coffee. "Peace offering," he said, setting one on her desk. "You've been avoiding me. I've been working." "It's more than that." He sat on the edge of her desk, too close. "Sophia, Ms. Laurent, I need to say something." Her heart was pounding. "Mr. Cross." "Damien," he corrected. "Please, just hear me out." She waited. "I know this is inappropriate," he said quietly. "I know I'm married. I know you work for me. But I can't stop thinking about you. There's something about you that I feel like I should know you. Like I've been looking for you my whole life without knowing it." Sophia felt ice and fire warring in her chest. This was the moment. This was her chance for the revenge she'd dreamed about. She could tell him the truth right now. Watch his face crumble as he realized who she was. Watch him understand what he'd thrown away. But something held her back. "You don't know me," she said softly. "You don't know anything about me. Then let me learn." He reached out, his fingers brushing her hand on the desk. "Have dinner with me. You're married. To a woman who doesn't love me. Who married me for my name and my money. Who would divorce me tomorrow if her father's business didn't depend on the Cross family connection." Sophia pulled her hand away. "That's not my problem. I know I have no right to ask. But Sophia." "Ms. Laurent," she corrected sharply. He stopped, looked at her, really looked at her. And for just a second, Sophia saw recognition dawn in his eyes. A flicker of memory. But then his phone rang, shattering the moment. He glanced at the screen and sighed. "It's Victoria. I have to." He stood. "I'm sorry. This was inappropriate. Please forget I said anything." He left, taking his coffee with him. Sophia sat in the silence of her office, her hands shaking. She'd almost told him. Almost broken cover. Almost ruined everything. She pulled out her phone and called Lisa, even though it was past midnight in Los Angeles. "Soph." Lisa answered, groggy. "What's wrong? Can I talk to Emma? I know she's asleep, but I need to hear her voice." A pause. Then, "Hold on." A minute later, Emma's sleepy voice came on the line. "Mommy. Hey, baby. I'm sorry to wake you. I just wanted to say goodnight. I miss you, Mommy. When are you coming home?" Sophia closed her eyes. "Soon, sweetheart. Very soon. Okay. I love you. I love you too, Emma. More than anything in the world." After they hung up, Sophia sat in the dark office and let herself feel everything she'd been holding back. The pain, the anger, The twisted satisfaction of watching Damien suffer, but also the confusion, because part of her, a small, wounded part she thought she'd killed 5 years ago, still felt something when he looked at her. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. The unraveling. The next morning, everything changed. Sophia arrived at the office to find Victoria waiting in her office, sitting in her chair like she owned it. "Mrs. Cross," Sophia said coolly. "Can I help you?" Victoria stood slowly. She was holding something, a folder. "I know who you are," she said. Sophia's blood turned to ice. "I'm Sophia Loran." "You already know that." "Loran," Victoria repeated. "That's your grandmother's maiden name, isn't it? Before she married a man named Chun." Silence. "It took me a while to figure it out," Victoria continued, circling the desk like a predator. "You look so different. The hair, the clothes, the confidence. But I never forget a face. And I definitely never forget someone who threatened my plans." Sophia said nothing. Her mind was racing, calculating. "You left," Victoria said. "Damien paid you to disappear. You signed away any claim to him. So what are you doing here now? Revenge? Trying to win him back?" "I'm doing my job," Sophia said calmly. "Liar." Victoria's mask of politeness cracked. "You're trying to seduce him. I've seen the way he looks at you. The way he talks about you. He hasn't looked at me like that in years. Maybe he never. That sounds like a problem in your marriage, not my concern. Stay away from my husband." Sophia stepped closer, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Or what? You'll have me hit by a car again? Leave me bleeding in the street again?" Victoria's eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" "The accident 5 years ago. The car that hit me. It wasn't an accident, was it? You arranged it. You're insane." "I didn't." "You knew I was pregnant," Sophia continued, her voice shaking with barely controlled fury. "You found out somehow. And you wanted me gone. So you had someone run me down." "I never." "That's not." Victoria was pale now, her composure crumbling. "I didn't know you were pregnant. I swear I didn't." "But you knew about the car." Victoria's silence was answer enough. The office door opened. Damien stood there, his face dark with confusion and growing horror. "What's going on?" he demanded. "Victoria, what are you doing here?" Victoria turned to him, her voice desperate. "Damien, this woman is your ex-wife," Sophia finished. She turned to Damien, her chin high. "Hello, Damien. It's been 5 years. Did you miss me?" Part 3, The Reckoning. The truth revealed. The silence in the office was deafening. Damien stood frozen in the doorway, his face cycling through emotions so quickly Sophia couldn't track them all. Confusion, shock, disbelief, and finally, dawning horror. "Sophia?" His voice cracked on her name. "Sophia Chun?" "In the flesh," she said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. "Though I go by Loran now. I thought a fresh start deserved a fresh name." Damien took a step forward, his hand reaching out as if to touch her, to confirm she was real. "But you look so different. Your hair, your face. 5 years of good nutrition, professional styling, and laser eye surgery will do that," Sophia said coldly. "Turns out when you're not scrubbing floors and eating ramen every night, you can actually take care of yourself."